Hello and welcome to Precon Decon, the video series where I deconstruct the pre-constructed decks of Magic the Gathering's history. In this video we're going to start off by looking at Eldritch Moon, so this is the second set in Shadows over Innistrad block, and also this is the last set where we have intro decks. After this it changes to Planeswalker decks, so yeah, the next five are very much the end of an era, so yeah, let's start looking at them. So the first one is Unlikely Alliance, which is a white-black deck. Let's look at the deck list. 16 creatures, 5 instants, 7 enchantments, 7 sorceries, 25 land, mana curve off to the side there. Doesn't feel like that many creatures now that I look at it, but yeah, that's weird. That's weird. I think you got a few token makers in the deck. We'll discover it, won't we, as we go on. So the foil face rare is Sanctifier of Souls, 3 and a white for a 2/3. Whenever another creature enters the battlefield under your control, it gets +1/+1 till end turn, and you spend 2 and a white to exile a creature card from your graveyard, and you make a 1/1 white spirit token, which then obviously triggers Sanctifier of Souls and gets bigger. So this is alright, I suppose. As I just said, you don't actually have a huge number of creatures in the deck. Less than I would expect normally in sort of a black-white deck, because obviously black-white usually does tokens like very well, because there's usually a lot of synergy with tokens, like you either want to sacrifice them or go wide with like anthem effects. So black-white usually has a lot of strong overlap in sort of going wide, and not really sure how much use you would get out of this ability. I suppose okay, it's an alright creature, I suppose. But yeah, just that low creature count is just really coming back to bug me on this one. But yeah, I think it's perfectly fine to turn dead creatures into token creatures with evasion. I think that's perfectly fine. And then we've got 3 Desperate Sentries, so 2 and a white for a 1/2. When it dies, you make a 3/2 colorless Eldrazi horror creature token. So yeah, this is now into Eldritch Moon. Innistrad has now become full on. So Innistrad is normally the first half of Bloodborne. We're now into the second half of Bloodborne, where all the cosmic horror is showing up. So yeah, and now the Eldrazi is starting to show up. But there's a big problem with that, as I'll discuss much later on. It also has this Delirium ability, which is carried over from the last set. So Delirium is, as long as you have 4 or more different card types amongst card types in your graveyard, it gets this Delirium ability. So this would go up to being a 4/2. So for 3 mana, potentially a 4/2 that when it dies leaves behind a 3/2. That's actually all right, I think. Even if you don't get the Delirium boost, I think it's still okay. Leaving behind a token bigger than itself when it dies, I think that's all right. And it's kind of nice. There's 3 of them here as well. So yeah, I think this is a pretty solid common to have, honestly. Then we've got a single Nearheath Chaplain, 3 and a white for a 3/1 with lifelink. You spend 2 and a white, exile it from your graveyard, and you make 2 spirit tokens, but only you do that anytime you could cast a sorcery. So yep, carrying on this theme of exiling stuff from your graveyard to make spirit tokens. Yep, I think that's fine. Just kind of straightforward, isn't it? We've got a single Emissary of the Sleepless, 4 and a white for a 2/4 flyer. When it ends the battlefield, if a creature died this turn, you make a 1/1, you make a spirit token, so that's okay. I suppose also there's the kind of what reminds me in this deck as well. There's a lot of death triggers in here, so it reminds me of Morbid from original Innistrad, and which when that was a really fun sort of straightforward keyword, because creatures die all the time, obviously, and yeah, I don't know. I kind of wish Morbid had been brought back rather than, I don't know, saying Delirium, which is kind of just such a weird keyword. Or if Morbid had come back and it had been more in white and black, I don't know. Because this is essentially a Morbid trigger, isn't it? But yeah, again, it's okay. And then 2 Haunted Dead, 3 and a black for a 2/2. When it ends the battlefield, you make a spirit creature token, and you spend 1 and a black, discard 2 cards, return Haunted Dead from your graveyard to the battlefield tapped. So yeah, then it comes back in, and then obviously makes a spirit token again. Yeah, this is okay. The fact it's got that way of reanimating itself from the graveyard is all right, I think. Maybe a little expensive discarding 2 cards, but I guess you don't want the effect to be too strong, otherwise it would just keep coming back, wouldn't it? But yeah, I think it's basically okay. A single Gavany Unhallowed, 3 and a black for a 2/4. Whenever another creature you control dies, put a +1/+1 counter on it. Yep, it's fine. These kind of scavenger creatures are always okay, aren't they? Just because they can ramp up quite quickly. We got 2 Unruly Mobs as well, which is 1 and white for a 1/1, and then whenever another creature you control dies, it gets a +1/+1 counter. Yeah, so again, like kind of a lot of death triggers in here. Oh, is the yeah, is Gavinian Hallowed is whenever a creature you control dies, and again the Unruly Mob is whenever a creature you control dies. So you're making a lot of tokens, I suppose, and they might be dying. These might get quite big. So yeah, sure, I guess that's fine. But again, that low creature count is really coming back to haunt me. Maybe I'm fixating too much on that, but it really doesn't seem enough. I don't know, maybe. So there's been a decent number of token generators, so maybe it's okay. We've got two Skursdag Supplicants, 2 and a black for a 2/3. And you can spend 1 black, tap it, discard a card. Each player loses 2 life. Sure, I suppose. Yeah, I don't really know much to say about that. Just it sucks that it's symmetrical. Actually, no, that actually just kind of sucks. I'm not happy with that. It being symmetrical. If it was like each opponent loses 2 life, obviously then it would be a better card. It'd be a different card. It'd be better. But I feel like we're past the point where this needs to be symmetrical. This effect, yeah, that's just disappointing as a card. It's just 3 mana for a 2/3, isn't it? And then I feel like there should have been way more copies of this. Sanitarium Skeleton, so 1 black mana for a 1/2. You can spend 2 and black to return it from your graveyard to your hand. So my initial thought was like, oh, it's kind of like a worse version of like a reassembling skeleton, because reassembling skeleton goes from the graveyard straight back onto the battlefield tapped. This at least goes back into hand, and as we've seen, you've got a few discard effects actually, so then you can keep reusing the sanitarium skeleton. The thing is, then you one of them, and I feel like you easily could have had 3 of these, and then like I don't know, you keep recasting them, keep playing them and stuff, and getting death triggers, using them for like discard effects like the Skursdag Supplicant. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, kind of wish there'd been more than one. And then we got a Mork Necropod, so 5 and a black for a 7/7 with Menace, which is obviously big and scary and evasive. But whenever it attacks or blocks, you have to sacrifice another creature or land, which is yeah, obviously not wonderful, but at least you can do a land if you don't need, because by the time you hit 6 mana, this is pretty much at the top of your curve. So I think you can start losing land. Or you don't want to swing with it, and hopefully you only need to swing with it sort of only once or twice, really. And then a single Vampire Noble, which is just 2 and a black for a 3/2. Like, sure, no abilities, whatever. Right, and then non-creature spells. So we've got 2 Blessed Alliance. So 1 and a white has this escalate mechanic, which is it's basically multi-kicker or strive. But here we go. It's got its own twist, and I suppose that makes it a little different rules-wise. Escalate 2. Pay the escalate cost for each mode chosen beyond the first. So the more mana you sink to it, the more modes you can have. So it can either you gain 4 life, which for 2 mana is obviously not wonderful. Untap up to 2 target creatures. That's an okay like combat trick. Or target opponent sacrifice an attacking creature. That's pretty good for 2 mana. So to get all of these modes, you would have to sink 6 mana into it. Yeah, it's okay. It's just a charm, isn't it? And with like 3 fairly okay effects, with just this nice bonus that you can sink extra mana into it to get more effects. So yeah, I think it's okay. I think it's like a nice design for a card, honestly. And then we got Borrowed Grace and Borrowed Malevolence. So Borrowed Grace is 2 and a white, escalate for 1 and a white. So you choose one or both. Creature you control get +2/+0 turn, or creature you control get +0/+2 turn. This is quite nice. Actually reminds me there's a card in Time Spiral like Fortify, I think, which does basically exactly this. Either gives your creatures +2/+0 or +0/+2, like a board wide one. So this is actually quite nice in the fact that if you have the mana, you can do both and turn to instant speed like +2/+2 for your whole board. So this is actually okay. Actually, I think this is okay at common. I think that this is quite nice. Yeah. And then Borrowed Malevolence is a little disappointing, in my opinion. So 1 black mana, escalate for 2, choose one or both. Target creature gets +1/+1 till end turn, or target creature gets -1/-1 till end turn. So either kills an X1, buffs up one of your creatures. Sure, like 3 mana. It's potentially like a 2-for-1 at 3 mana, isn't it? Because you give one creature enough a power toughness boost so it survives like combat, and also kill off like an X1. You could do that, I suppose. But I think Borrowed Grace is obviously just much better. Yeah, just Borrowed Malevolence, I feel could have had a bit more of a beefy effect. Also, like this is this is my my like mentality coming through. Like it really annoys me that like they're clearly meant to be mirrored pairs, and like Borrowed Graces escalate cost requires colored mana, and Borrowed Malevolence is just colorless, and that really bothers me for a reason I can't, because it's inconsistent. It just bothers me. You know, if you're going to be a mirrored pair, be properly mirrored. You know. But I mean, it's fine, isn't it? But you've only got like one copy of each, which like feels like, I don't know, such a waste. Like a waste of potential, you know. And then 2 Angelic Purges, 2 and a white, as initial cost to cast Angelic Purge, sacrifice a permanent. The fact it can be any permanent is, you know, actually fairly solid. And you exile an artifact, creature, or an enchantment. So, yeah, pretty much always has a target. You know, it's fairly cheap, I suppose. Like sacrificing something for just a straight up exile is obviously pretty strong. This is okay removal. 2 Ruthless Disposal, so 4 and a black. Sorcery, additional cost to cast it, discard a card and sacrifice a creature, but you give 2 target creatures -13 or -13 until turn. So that's, I mean, that's just dead, isn't it? Like there's very few things that can survive -13, -13. And also it's nice that we get a another kind of -13 or a reference to 13 in a Strad set. That's always kind of tradition we have to have. Yeah, so what, 5 mana, discarding a card and sacrifice a creature to kill off 2 creatures. I don't know. I mean, it's okay, isn't it? It's obviously definitely killing 2 things, but it's like it's sorcery speed and like, I don't know, the additional cost, and it's 5 mana as well. Like it feels, it's okay. It's okay. It could definitely be worse, but it could also definitely be better. You know. Yeah, we're a long way off like Tragic Slip, which is, yeah, one of the best bits of Innistrad related removal. Because again, it had a morbid trigger. That's what this could have been. This could have been like yeah, like a bigger Tragic Slip. You know, like it affected multiple things, but it was more expensive. I don't know, maybe. Just I don't know. Just looking at these cards, I just wish Morbid had come back for the set, because I think Morbid was great and very fitting to Innistrad. Anyway, and then 2 Spectral Reserves, 3 and a white. You make 2 Spirit tokens and you gain 2 life. Yep, it's fine. It's fine. Just more token creation and a bit of life gain. Sure, it's fine. Right, and then possibly one of the worst rares we've had in a deck for a really long time, Providence. So 5 and double white for a sorcery, so super expensive. So it's got to be pretty good, right? It's 7 mana and a sorcery. Well, if it's in your opening hand, you can reveal it at the start of the game. At the beginning of the first upkeep, your life total becomes 26. So there you go. You can start the game off with 6 extra life. So there you go, if you have it in your opening hand. But if you do ever then cast it, your life total just becomes 26, which is, sure, you know, it gives me big vibes of Archangel's Light from original Innistrad, which is like a super expensive mythic rare, and all it did was like gain you life. That's exactly what Providence reminds me of. And like, I mean, obviously there's a cute reference here as well, because Innistrad has a big connection to the number 13. So like, oh look, this is double 13, so it's like luckier, I guess. But yeah, it's just not. Yeah, it's just like all it does, it gains you life. That's all it does. And like, you know, obviously gaining life is good, but like I expect a bit more from like a rare in a deck. Like it should be like, I suppose a new player would see this and be like, whoa, my life total can become 26. That means like, you know, if I got down to only 2 or 3, which could happen, like, because for a black-white deck, this actually doesn't have a lot of life gain in it. Like, this resets me after 26, and, like, that's fine. And I feel like we looked at a deck fairly, like the M15 ones, where you had the Angel in there, which was like, oh, it basically resets you to your starting life total, which is like, again, that's okay, but I don't know. I always feel like the effect is overcosted personally. But yeah, this is like I think this is honestly just a really disappointing rare to have. Like, and I think there were definitely better options here. But on the plus side, you know, you could put this in a commander deck, and like if this is in your opening hand for a commander game, you could reveal this and go down to 26 from 40, like as an absolute flex move. So you could do that. There's that potentially if you want to play commander on hard mode, you could do that. So yeah, that's really disappointing, honestly. And then we got a single Repel the Abominable, 1 and a white to prevent all damage that would be dealt to this turn by non-human sources. Sure, like a sort of a targeted fog effect, that's okay, I think. And it is all damage, not just combat damage. So actually, this is okay. I think this is like a nice damage prevention trick. 2 Lunarch Mantle, 1 white. Aura goes on a creature. Enchanted creature has +2/+2 and has 1 sacrifice a permanent. This creature gains flying till end turn. So yeah, it's like 2 mana for a +2/+2, isn't it? I suppose, but it's an unfair comparison. But again, originally in Innistrad, Spectral Flight, which was 2 mana for +2/+2 and flying all the time. You didn't have to sacrifice anything. I suppose you've got some like sacrifice synergies in the deck, but like not enough to make this worthwhile. I suppose it's just a very round. Yeah, at least you've got the option, I suppose, to get flying if you need it. But yeah, again, it's sort of a big sacrifice theme in here, and I just don't think you've got some token generators, but like I don't feel like it's maybe enough. Yeah, at least this card has like really. I love the art on this card. It's so grimdark. Like just murdered an angel and taken its wings. That's love it. Loving the strat. Right, and then we've got 2 Campaign of Vengeance. So 3 a white and a black for an enchantment. Whenever a creature you control attacks, defending player loses 1 life and you gain 1 life. Oh, so you do actually have a bit of life gain. I lied before. This is alright, isn't it? Obviously you want to go wide with this. So yeah, all those token generators you've got, but then also like a lot of things are making you want to sacrifice those tokens. Just the deck just feels very at odds with itself, you know? Does anyone else get that feeling? Like, I don't know, you're kind of wanting to go wide because you've got like stuff like the Borrowed Grace and like this card, but then also, I don't know. It just gives me a weird feeling, this deck, you know? It just feels like it's a bit at odds with itself. I'm sure it'd play absolutely fine, but yeah, looking at the cards and like what's in it, I just don't see a lot. I don't know, it doesn't mesh too well, I think. It feels like it's trying to do 2 different things and doing neither particularly well. But yeah, Campaign Vengeance on its own, I think, is just a really solid card, like a really nice way of just obviously definitely getting damage through, because it is just a straight life loss whenever a creature control attacks, and also getting some life back. So yeah, fine card, like it. And 2 Vessel of Ephemera, 1 and a white for an enchantment. You spend 2 and a white and sacrifice it. You make 2 spirit tokens. So actually, you do have a good number of token generators, don't you? So yeah, this is okay. This is okay. It's a very long-winded way of doing Midnight Haunting is the card I'm trying to think of. And then a single Bound by Moon Silver, 2 and a white for an aura, goes on a creature. The creature can't attack, block, or transform, which doesn't matter if you're playing these intro decks against each other because they don't have double face cards. And you can sacrifice another permanent, attach Bound by Moon Silver to target creature, activate this ability only anytime you could cast a sorcery and only once a turn. So it's pacifism that costs more, that you can move around by sacrificing a permanent. Sure, yeah, it's again, it's fine. And then 13 plains and 12 swamps. So let's talk about what could have been. Yeah, so I say that Providence has to go, because Providence is so disappointing. If you wanted to do, because like it's trying to show off cards with Escalate, isn't it? I mean, like it's only got like 4 cards with Escalate, and I think that's a problem of just the set as a whole anyway. Eldritch Moon again felt like a set where it was trying to do a bit too much, and it stretched itself a bit thin in terms of like new mechanics and stuff. That's just what I think. But we could have had Collective Effort here as the alternate rare. So Collective Effort is 1 and double white. It's a sorcery. Escalate, tap an untapped creature you control. So it's like I was going to say free escalate cost. It's not. Well, it's manaless, isn't it? It's a manaless escalate cost. To choose 1 or more. Destroy target creature's power 4 or greater. Destroy target enchantment, or put a +1/+1 counter on each creature target player controls. So I would say that first and third effect are obviously like the strongest effects. Like if you can get this for 3 mana and tap 1 creature to kill off a big creature and also give your whole board like +1/+1, that's pretty good, I think. Obviously, the enchantment effect is a bit more situational, but yeah, I think this would have been a lot better than Providence. Also, maybe like Selfless Spirit here. So 1 white, 2/1 flyer. You just sacrifice it to give all your creatures indestructible to end turn. Just very, very straightforward effect, and I think it could have fit in here. Again, I feel like pretty much anything would have been better than Providence. And then another card here that I think really missed out on is Behind the Scenes. So 2 and a black enchantment. Creature control have Skulk, which means they can't be blocked with creatures that have greater power. And you spend 4 and a white to give your whole board like +1/+1. So that would have been a nice enchantment that could have fit in here, like sort of fits with the sort of going wide with a bunch of tokens, like makes them even harder to block. They've already got flying because they're all spirits. Give them Skulk as well, and also you got this mana sink pump ability. Maybe that could have worked out. But yeah, in summary, like I said, I know I was really rambling there, but like it really does feel like a bit at odds with itself. Like, and that low creature count really does keep coming back to me. And I know you got like a bunch of token generators in here as well, but like you've also, I don't know. It's, I don't know. It hasn't got enough actual proper creature cards in here for my liking for like a black white kind of go white. I'm sure it would have played absolutely fine. But yeah, to me, just it seemed a little at odds with itself when I was looking at it. And also like the theme is just kind of, I don't know, it just feels like a little all over the place because you've got like a lot of sacrifice effects and like sort of, oh, but you also want to discard some stuff, but also you want to go wide, and I don't know, it just feels, I don't know. I'm not getting on with it. You know, I've definitely seen black white decks that I like a lot more than this. What are your thoughts on this deck after seeing it? If you got any thoughts or stories or comments, opinions about the deck or any of the cards in it, stick a comment downstairs. I'll give those a read. Always like doing that. But I'll be back next time. Go look at another Eldritch Moon intro pack. Until then, thanks for watching, listening, and have a great day.